I was
But
going to say that leads us into our worst picks, which there were a few that were pretty questionable.
For me here, let me go. The Alex Leatherwood pick for me is in my top 3. I thought that was a little high, and also I felt like Christian Darrisaw was available as well. So I don't know why the Raiders didn't pick them. But for me, the worst pick, and I feel bad because I was very high on Najee Harris going in, but the Steelers with I don't like that pick at all for the Steelers. And I mean, this is the pick I was mentioning earlier. There is so much depth in the running back class that they could have gotten Michael Carter in the late 3rd round. Like, he was still available. You could have even gotten someone else. Javonte Williams. He was gone by the early 2nd round. But you need to address that offensive line position because running backs are only as good as their offensive line, and they don't have much of any offensive line. I think they lost at least 2 members of the offensive line.
They lost 2 guys.
Yeah, and they need to fill that, and they did not even fill that position, even start to address the offensive line, I think, until the 3rd round. So that is where, to me, I look at that pick, and I think they could have gotten similar value from Najee, like from the running back position. Because also running backs are very replaceable. If you have a bad offensive line, there's not really much replacing that offensive line. I think Mel Kiper agrees with me because I'm looking at it now. He ranked the Steelers draft as the worst draft, so to say.
Yeah. No, they're definitely one of the biggest losers in this draft class. I don't think the Steelers, who usually draft pretty well, drafted well at all. I just don't think that they really met like their team needs all that much.
Well, they didn't even address the quarterback position because we know Ben Roethlisberger is on his final legs. Unless they think Dwayne Haskins can come in and be the guy, or Mason Rudolph, and they're sticking with them. But even then, on top of that, whoever quarterback's going to be coming in, you need to give him time to throw to the weapons. And they drafted Pat Freiermuth in the 2nd round, and I like Pat Freiermuth as well, and they dropped all the way down to him. But at the same time, though, you didn't even address the offensive line, and when you get into that late 3rd round, you're starting to get into potentially some guys that could eventually start, but not starters from day one. They still need to get their sea legs in the NFL, and some guys probably aren't going to really be able to come in and be that effective if they do have to start from day one as a rookie. So that, for me, I think is the worst pick. And they drafted a good guy, so I could absolutely be wrong. But all in all, there are a couple, maybe a little bit later on. The Bills drafted Gregory Rousseau. I know I said this live that this is a fine spot to take him, and he'd be a project. I also felt like there were some other guys that were available that they could have taken that went not that much farther after him. Like Christian Barmore was one. He's more of a defensive tackle, so to say. But even guys like Azeez Ojulari or Joseph Asai or Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah were all there. And I felt like those guys could come in and I think immediately help from day one. So, anyways, so those are kind of my thoughts. What was
for me, I think there were a few reaches, but I still like the player. Like, to me, J.C. Horn to the Panthers is a little bit of a reach. He's not a scheme fit there. And like they like to play zone coverage, and J.C. Horn is a press man corner. And his tape did not look good when they played zone coverage in college. And I don't know. I'm looking at it right now. Jamin Davis is a bit of a reach. I still just go back to that Alex Leatherwood pick. And I just kind of I like the guy, but I still just don't understand why they would pick him at 17. To me, that one just doesn't make sense.
Well, especially then, I mean, do you think Alex Leatherwood is better than Landon Dickerson? I mean, if Landon Dickerson doesn't tear his ACL, I think he's easy first round pick.
Yeah, definitely.
And
he was a middle second round pick with a torn ACL.
Yeah, and so he's going to be coming in, and he could play center. He could also easily play guard as well. He fits the size.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Underwood, there are some guys that were picked later in the round where there's some serious game film from the SEC, and they torched Alex Underwood. Like Alex Underwood held his own at times, but there's also a lot of times that he's blown off the ball, and so that's right. I thought that was kind of a reach, but that being said, that we're also not in the Las Vegas obviously scouting room, so maybe they're seeing something else and see some easy technique work that they can fix. So,
but that's also too like the Raiders do this. Like I think the Raiders, they watch a ton of film and then they make their board and they just pick whoever they think is best or whoever I think they feel like is the best player for them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I do have to kind of give them props for that because like they don't care that they're getting heat for it. I think they probably think they got a steal. I just don't see the middle first round talent in him, especially when guys like Christian Darrisaw, Tevin Jenkins are still on the board.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that has to be my worst pick. I just think that's the biggest, like, what were you thinking? And then also, too, another one that I also don't understand is Peyton Turner to the Saints at 28.
Yeah, I remember when that pick happened. We both looked at each other, and we'd never even heard of the guy before.
Yeah.
So, the Saints had an interesting draft class, I felt like, because then they took even then another quarterback, Ian Bach, I think with their 4th round selection or something like that, which was just interesting too because you would think out of all the positions in for the team that quarterback was one of the ones that they were pretty locked up and also committed to with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill has been with the team now for several years, knows the playbook really well. Jameis Winston has a lot of talent in the world. Then they go and I mean, I think Ian Bach has some potential, but for an organization, kind of wasted a pick, I feel like, because you could have taken a receiver there or another weapon or some more defensive help because they were almost exclusively defense up to that point. Actually, they were exclusively defense up to that point. And it just felt like it kind of that goes along a little bit with the Peyton Turner pick as well. There were some other guys that were available that could have provided better impact. But who knows? We could be completely wrong. We could be saying this by this time next year. We're like, who thought that Peyton Turner pick was a bad pick?